But okay, let's just start from the top. Let's say I'm building an app. Let's say I'm building Cal AI. If I wanted to go and get my first 1,000, users or downloads, where am I going?
So that depends greatly on budget. For Cal AI, I started making TikToks myself, and that helped us get to the first 100 users. But in order to get to the first 1,000, what it really took was experimenting with a few influencers in the health and fitness niche. For Cal AI, it was pretty obvious which influencers to go after, the bodybuilders, anyone about dieting. With other apps, it may be more difficult to figure out the niche. So we actually had the first influencers post on their stories, not an actual full reel. And that allowed us to more quickly iterate between different influencers and niches because story posts are one, cheaper, and two, usually tap into the core audience and you can include a link straight to the app.
Interesting, because people right now, when they try to copy the playbook, they just go and find a bunch of influencers with hashtags and they try to, hire all of them. But you guys were testing them through stories.
Yeah.
And were you using UTM parameters to track, who was converting, or were you just posting them on different days and seeing the graph?
So with App Store Connect, we were able to send custom links to each creator in order to track it. We couldn't track which creators necessarily converted the best unless we put them on separate days. So that is what we did as well. In the beginning, it's hard to have multiple. It's hard to get a response, first of all. So we took whoever we could, and those were usually on separate days.
Got it. I remember with you, Max, Blake was one of your partners when it came to building this app, and he used Samzia, right? Because he could then use Sam's DM inbox to get into the inboxes of other influencers. You guys didn't have a Samzia, right? You didn't have any influencers on the team. So how did you go and lock in the first influencer partnerships?
So it's slow at first. When you don't have social proof on your own account that you're sending DMs to, you get much fewer responses. So emails work pretty good early on, but then over time, as we sent more and more DMs from the brand account, one, we started gaining followers because influencers would tag us. And secondly, people who have heard about the brand, seeing it on other creators' pages, they would see us and think, oh, that's pretty cool. They're actually reaching out to me. They'll want to work with us.
I see. Okay, cool. So then you get your first, 1,000 users from posting on stories. And how did you define the first TikTok rollout?
It was a lot of experimentation. To be honest, the first TikTok we ever rolled out, the first real video, it completely flopped. The video was horrible. It barely converted at all. And that was completely on us. It's not that the views were worthless. Some creators, their views are worthless. They won't convert whatsoever. But it's that we were pretty terrible at approving videos very early on, figuring out what's acceptable and what will drive an audience to see the app and then go download. So it took a few iterations, deciding on product placement, figuring out the aha moment in the app and what people want to see. But now we have a pretty robust system in place where we know exactly what key points we want to highlight in every video.
So what are some of the key points you're highlighting for Cal AI?
For Cal AI, the main thing is the food scanning. That's the aha moment. People see that, and you'll see if you look at any of our creators, they don't mention the name Cal AI anywhere. They simply go about their normal content. Maybe it's, here's a day in my life. Part of their life is eating food, as every human being does. So they scan it and don't mention the app. They're just like, okay, I scan my calories throughout my day. We specifically put the name Cal AI on the homepage big at the top. So when they use the app, people will see Cal AI in text and they'll know to go download it.
That's interesting, right? Because a lot of people underestimate right now how important having a visual hook is in their consumer apps. So they'll go and build stuff where the entire thing is text-based. And that kind of works for RizGPT, but there's nothing interesting enough to where it doesn't actually stick out if someone makes a video about it. So an influencer can make a video and it's so not obvious that, it's so kind of non-obvious that there is a product that is doing something that people should go download, that it just looks like a kind of like a blatant show, because they're like, yeah, and you could use this app that obviously paid me to go use this and no one wants to go and use it. Whereas you guys have an app that even if I wasn't paid to go, make content for you, it would be very blatantly obvious, or it would be very high converting if someone were to go and use the app or see me using it on my own TikTok, for example.
Completely. Yes.
Okay, now you guys had your first TikTok rollout. You had certain points that you wanted to hit. What went into the first month of scaling that up?
It's always slowest the first month. It was bulk DMs, bulk emails, all day grinding, keyboard warrior. So eventually we were able to, maybe after the first month, get 10 influencers on retainer where they would post 4 times a month for us. And month after month, we built up how many influencers we had on retainer. So I was no longer sending DMs. We brought on virtual assistants, and these virtual assistants started DMing for us, which greatly improved, well, it freed up my time. And we were able to have a bunch of virtual assistants on different accounts, sending out DMs 24/7. This still happens today. And I mean, right now as we speak, there's probably like 10 DMs that were just sent. So we're constantly bringing in new influencers through that.
How many assistants did you guys have? Because aren't there spam limits on how many DMs you can send out from a certain account?
Yes, there are spam limits. It's about 50 on Instagram per hour. And if you exceed it, then they'll block you for a few hours before you could get back on. So we are careful about that. We don't exceed the limit. We have multiple accounts so that we can exceed the 50, and the virtual assistants will switch between TikTok and Instagram.
What is the strategy? Like, what are you telling them to do? Because you're not just giving them logins to your account and saying, go find people, right? Like, you're giving them a very specific set of parameters.
Sure. Yes, we give them the whole script. The most important thing about the whole system is getting the influencer to actually open the message and enticing them to respond. And so what we have every message include on the DM side is paid promo, ? This lets the creator know, this basically, it optimizes for the preview of the message in the DMs. So as they're scrolling through, they'll see a message from their fan. I'm your biggest fan. They'll see another one. I'm your second biggest fan. And then they'll see paid promo. So they'll click on that, probably wanting to get paid, as creators do. And the rest of our message talks very concisely about what the app is. And just a simple, hey, if you're interested, let us know. We'll send over some more details. I think a lot of people will send over an essay of exactly why their app
Yes, I've seen that.
an audience, exactly why and how much they're going to pay.
ChatGPT-ified.
Exactly. You have to be, one, you have to seem authentic, like you're a real person. If they get any sense that that's ChatGPT, if they get any sense you're a bot, they are not going to reply. But secondly, you have to be respectful of their time. They're not going to read out a full entire essay.